Joining us now, a leader on this issue, and there aren't enough, Senator Marco Rubio from the great state of Florida. And he joins us now after having introduced a bill that would correct this grievous wrong. Senator Rubio, great to talk to you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You heard Jay Carney. There's no constitutional issue, sir.
Yeah, well, I don't know where he got his law degree from, because the law, one of the most cherished constitutional principles, in fact, one of the cornerstone ones when this country was founded and framed through the Constitution, was the issue of religious freedom. And the notion that somehow the government of the United States could come in and not just force you to do it, but more importantly, force a religious organization to pay for something that religion teaches is immoral, would be so beyond anything the framers could have imagined. And it's exactly the kind of thing they wanted to prevent when they enshrined that protection in the Constitution. So I think this action from the president is actually unconstitutional. I hope it'll be challenged. But I hope before we get to that point, because it's my understanding based on press accounts that there was actually disagreement within his inner circle, I hope before we get to that point that the administration will reconsider and realize that they've made a big, big mistake here.
We're talking to Marco Rubio, senator from Florida. The Catholic bishops, religious leaders across the United States are shocked. Of course, many of us are not shocked that Kathleen Sebelius is issuing these rulemakings that will give specificity and teeth to the health care reform law that trample on religious rights and conscience rights. And I certainly hope that more people will voice their concerns about this. Senator Rubio, of course, the conversation of the day goes to the Republican nomination fight. I know you've not endorsed anyone. Nevertheless, everyone from National Review to even the Wall Street Journal, folks who understand that the pig piling on a candidate isn't the right way to go. But when Mitt Romney says he doesn't care about the very poor, what's your reaction to this?
Well, I don't think that's what he meant, to be quite frank. I saw the whole interview, and unfortunately, what happens in modern-day politics is they can just cut your sentence in half or your phrase in half, and that's the part they focus on. But the bigger point is, the good news is in America, we all agree we have to help the poor. The big disagreement between Republicans and Democrats and between conservatives and liberals is what's the best way to do it. And I think the best way to do it, and I think Mitt Romney and Newt Gingrich and all our candidates think the best way to do it, is the American free enterprise system. The president thinks the best way to do it is to pit us against each other, to basically go to Americans who are struggling and say, hey, you know how you're going to be better off is if someone else is worse off. Give me the power to take away from other people and give to you. Well, that's never been who we are as a nation. Americans have always celebrated other people's success. All we ask for is the same opportunity to succeed ourselves, no matter where we started out in life. This president's decided to not even talk about that. He's just decided he wants 50 plus 1%, and he's going to get it by dividing Americans against
Right, but Senator, do you agree with what Mitt Romney said, that the very poor are doing okay because they have a safety net that maybe needs to be repaired, but they have a safety net? Do you agree with that?
Look, I don't want to, put words in his mouth, or let me just say what I believe.
Well, I'll play the soundbite for you. Yeah. I'll play the soundbite. Do you want to hear the whole soundbite?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, let's listen.
I'm in this race because I care about Americans. I'm not concerned about the very poor. We have a safety net there. If it needs repair, I'll fix it. I'm not concerned about the very rich. They're doing just fine. I'm concerned about the very heart of America, the 95% of Americans who right now are struggling, and I'll continue to take that message across the nation.
All right. I know I said last question, but I got to ask you. You just said, I'm not concerned about the very poor because they have a safety net. And I think there are lots of very poor Americans who are struggling who would say, that sounds odd. Can you explain that?
Well, you had to finish the sentence, Soledad. I said, I'm not concerned about the very poor that have a safety net, but if it has holes in it, I will repair them.
Got it.
Well, so that's the basic point. So if it has holes in it, and National Review and Wall Street Journal basically making the point today that his response demonstrates he's a businessman, a successful one, but not conversant in the conservative way of addressing these issues, and that needs to happen. And the way you just described it and the problem we face is compelling. But to phrase it that way, would you ever phrase it that way?
No, look, and I think if you ask Governor Romney, he would say if you gave him another chance, he would have said it a different way, especially in this climate and in this environment where everything you say is parsed. But at the end of the day, the fundamental point is that if we do have a safety net in America, it exists to help people who cannot help themselves, and it exists to help people who have fallen to get back on their feet and try again. It can't be a way of life. But, that safety net has to be paid for. And how do we pay for it? You can only pay for it through a prosperous economy. You have to, and that means you have to have economic policies that encourage growth. And raising a bunch of taxes on job creators does not create growth. Raising your boss's taxes is not going to secure your job, which is what the president's argument is, that the way to make people more secure in their jobs is to raise their boss's taxes, to discourage investment in the American economy. And I just wish, look, I know we have to have a primary. I support it. I think it's going to make our candidates stronger. But we have a very compelling argument to make to the American people that the guy in charge of this country has no idea what he's doing, and the longer he's there, the worse it's going to be. I mean, this record is abysmal. The last 4 years, the last 3 years is really a tale of incompetence when it comes to managing America's economy, and we need to make a change. And the sooner we can get to that argument, I think the better off the country's going to be.
Well, we definitely need to make those arguments, and going back to the Reagan "It's a time to choose" speech in 1964 about why this dependency trap has to be avoided for people. And Senator Rubio, I think the concern is that we can't give the our opponents bats to hit us with. And so we have to be careful. We have to be more careful than they are because they're never held to the same standard.
Yeah, our margin of error is a lot narrower than theirs. We need to work hard at that. But the bottom line is we have a more compelling argument, and history and evidence is on our side.
Right, and you have to make that argument. How confident are you that your bill is going to move forward in the Senate?
Well, we'll see. I hope it'll be a bipartisan one because this is a ridiculous ruling by the administration.
Senator Marco Rubio, it is always great to talk to you. Thank you for what you did on religious liberty. Fantastic.
Thank you.